Hey, what's going on? Welcome along here to a live podcast recording. Now, this is the first of this new style of live broadcasts, which have been inspired by the last 3 months where we've been doing what we've been calling bunker talks. The bunker talk sessions have evolved, and it's time to keep moving forwards, right? That's really, really important. And I'm very grateful for all of you who have been tuning in to the bunker talk sessions. This is an evolution of that. Tonight, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be talking about a specific topic, and that specific topic is overthinking. That's what we're going to be talking about. So as you're logging in, it's really good for you to let me know that you're here so that I know who's here. Chris is here. Nikki's here. Good to see you guys virtually, although I can't see you. You can see me. But good to see your pictures and your names coming up here and your comments. So we're going to be talking about overthinking, and it's very important because I think it's something that we all struggle with at times when we can't seem to turn our head off. Yeah, I know that I get that a lot. You know, I'm always on the go, always thinking, and so what I have to do is build strategies and structures in to my everyday thoughts in order to stop that stressful environment within my own head. So I just want to make that very clear right from the get-go. This is something that I've practiced and I know helps me, and it's a very simple strategy that I'm going to share with you, which if you have ever struggled with overthinking, then this is going to help you. So let me just make sure that for the purpose of tonight's podcast recording, we've got a good line for our audio, very important for a podcast. And I appreciate those of you that do listen to the podcast. We want to make sure that that experience is as positive as possible for your ears, right? So that it sounds as clear as possible. How's your week been? We're not kind of officially on our episode content just yet. So how's your week been so far? It's obviously the second day of the week. It's Tuesday. What's been going on for you? Still very much a very random landscape out there for everybody. I'm talking on behalf of people here in the UK who are integrating now. The majority of us are integrating back into what we were doing before, or a version of that. So where is it for you? Like, what does it look like? Just share with me in the comments while we get set up. Carlton, good to see you here as well. Thanks for joining us. I spoke to somebody from Mexico today, and they told me things are starting to get a little worse in terms of COVID, and they're really taking a bit of a backward step where this person lives. It's almost like a second wave situation, and you know that might happen. I think whatever we are presented with, whatever challenges we are presented with, knowing how to turn that overthinking off would be helpful for us all. So tonight's topic is going to help not just now with all the things that are going on, but with what might happen in the next few weeks and months. And even if everything is to get better and everything is to improve, which hopefully it will, overthinking is still going to be very much there as you go through life. You know, overthinking in certain situations, with your work, when you're under pressure, when you're under stress, when you've got to step up and do things, and also in relationships, when you're meeting people, when you're thinking about meeting people, you know, when you're debating about it in your own head, but also as your relationships improve and develop. This is very much a common problem for people. So we'll talk about it, but I need your help and your comments, and to let me know what you feel, how it affects you, and what you do. Because if those suggestions come up and I feel like they're going to be relevant for our audience, of course I'll share those, because I'm just one brain, one person. And you've got your own experiences and your own unique references that you can bring to the table, right? That's very important. Chris, good to see you, mate. Been a great week. Work has been busy and productive. Hope you're having a great week too. Yeah, I'm having a great week. Got myself this new sweatshirt here, courtesy of Tie-Dye Angels. A bit of a shout out to those guys. This is a pretty cool sweatshirt, I think. These are the colors of my new company, which is a subtle if some of you might have picked that up, that are following the new Instagram account for Tide55. If you're on Instagram, search for it, Tide, Tide .55, and give us a little bit of a wave on there as well. Catherine, good to have you here, Catherine. Overthinking, my downfall. Well, a major one of them. Yeah, overthinking is a problem for a lot of people. You're not alone, myself included, and we're going to really get stuck into this one today. I'm going to share with you one simple strategy, which it is simple, like on paper it's simple and it makes sense, but to actually practice it and for it to become permanent will take a little bit of time. But this is where it starts. We bring attention to it, we bring energy to it, and then hopefully it will stick and it will become a lot easier for you. That's my intention with this particular topic and what we're going to cover tonight. Carlton, 100%, work is up and down as always. Great day overall, got a lot done. Good. And I will chat to you very soon as well, mate, I'm sure. Chris, been a productive week so far. Actually I read that already? No. It's similar to your last message, that's why. Been a productive week so far. Hope you're having a great week. And Angela in the house, yes, Tie-Dye Angels. Check them out. There's a bit of an angel theme going on. Of course, your Angela's business, for those of you that might not know, Angel Call Handling. Again, massive shout out to you guys. Your work that you do is incredible for a lot of people. So, right, let's get stuck in. If you're here and you're watching, thanks for being here. Feel free to jump in on the conversation at any point. It's very much there for you to get involved as we go, okay? But I'm going to go into sort of official podcast recording mode now, where I change my voice to like a really posh official BBC recording voice and get stuck into, I think it's episode like 113 or something. I'm looking forward to this one, guys, because the podcast, as most of you know that have been here over the last few weeks with me, with the bunker talks, it has literally just been recorded bunker talk sessions between half an hour to like 2 hours long. This one's going to be under 10 minutes in terms of when we actually start, and that's going to be the theme for a few episodes, just to keep that content rolling. Also, if you are somebody who does listen and finds it useful and you'd like me to cover certain topics, then you can reach out and ask and suggest certain topics. And I've got some awesome guests lined up as well for you guys in the next few weeks. All right, let's hit this one. Let's get the sound all good here. Press and record. While you're waiting for me, do let me know how you're getting on. What's your biggest challenge at the moment? And what are your experiences with overthinking? What's helped you? What's helped you to improve and to be more focused in your thoughts, because solutions are welcome, and also what do you struggle with the most, or what situations test you the most? Okay, let's hit that button. We are recording. Thanks for being here, everyone. Okay, so tonight we're going to be talking about overthinking, and overthinking is a massive challenge and it's a big problem for a lot of people. And essentially, when we overthink, it's when it happens because we have too much information going through our heads at one time. And this could be either a situational thing, like it could be that we're presented with a singular moment in our lives where we're just flooded with information, all these different thoughts, all these different possibilities, and all these different reference points. And it's just this big traffic jam of thoughts based on a situation that we see in front of us. Or it could be something that isn't happening around us, but is completely 100% living inside of our head and nowhere else. And that wouldn't be a situational thing because it's not been triggered by anything else. It's purely you and your thoughts. And your thoughts are racing, and there's too much information in your mind, and it becomes very stressful. Of course, the problem is that not only do we lack that clarity, not only do we lack that clear line of thought, solution-based thinking that allows us to choose what we should do in the moment and move forwards with our lives, but it's also very tiring, and it stretches our mental energy, it stretches our mental bandwidth, and it can really be exhausting. And if you've experienced this before, then of course we're doing this very, very much live at the moment on my Facebook page. If you've experienced this kind of thing, then do sum it up in your own words, because I would love to share that with you guys right now. So for me, it's about this noisy traffic jam situation where we've got all of this stuff trying to get through a bottleneck, too much information that we see, hear, taste, smell, touch coming through our senses and just spiraling out of control. Essentially, that is what overthinking feels like, at least to me, and from various clients that I've spoken to over the years who have described it for me. And I'd love to know what you think and what you feel when you are overthinking. You know, it is a slippery slope, isn't it? Because we deal with the first thought and then that causes two more and then that multiplies. And then we feel like we're aware of how we might look. You know, maybe we're feeling like we're getting hot and we start thinking about how hot we're getting. And then we start thinking about how we might have like our skin might be getting a little bit blushed and we might be a little bit like red. And maybe we're thinking about like our sweat patches and it just multiplies. And of course, this level of anxiety is not healthy. And it all starts due to that first initial bottleneck of thoughts, just too much at once. And so this is going to be something that you have to work with and you have to practice. Essentially, the way to get around this and to make sure that you avoid overthinking is by getting to really understand yourself. And right from the get-go, in order to understand yourself, you've got to be willing to learn. You know, it's like going into a classroom. If you are not willing to learn, if you are against learning, if you are completely anti-learning and you're afraid of learning or you're influenced to be ignorant and switch off, then there's no way you're going to learn anything, right? So the first thing is, from a philosophical point of view, in order to overcome overthinking, we have to be okay with seeking knowledge and learning. And in order to be in that vulnerable position of, okay, I'm ready to learn and I want to learn, we have to be able to accept that we might not always get it right and that we might make mistakes and that sometimes we might fail. Once we know that we have to do that, it then becomes possible for us to learn. So going into that metaphor of a classroom and being open-minded is very, very important. Whatever problem or whatever challenge you're faced with, whether it's overthinking, whether it's general situational anxiety, or whether it's something from your past that you're struggling to overcome, having an open-minded approach is always going to be the way to help yourself to learn how to overcome that challenge. Without the open-minded approach, you might as well go into the classroom. You might as well plug your headphones in, not listen to the teacher. You might as well not look at the board. You might as well draw pictures on your pad. Actually, kind of sounds a little bit like year 10. Yeah. And you would just ignore that whole learning process. So we don't want that. We want to open the mind. We want to be able to ask great questions of ourselves and get to know ourselves. We should not be afraid of getting to know who we are and how we work and how we tick. All right. That is where it begins. And I want you to understand that in your head, like right now, as you're listening to me and watching me, there are thoughts going through your mind, all kinds of thoughts. You've got conscious thoughts, which you're choosing to think, like your overriding voice, the internal dialogue, which is a single channel, like a single channel that you're tuned into. And that single channel is just throwing thoughts at you consciously. You're thinking about those things consciously. You're choosing those thoughts. If you listen carefully and if you pay close attention, you can actually notice what it is that you're thinking right now. You might be thinking about the word under here, like moving across the screen. You might be thinking, hey, what a nice sweatshirt this guy has. You might be thinking about what you're going to have for dinner. You might be thinking about like the thing you're looking at that isn't the screen. But those conscious thoughts are going on that single channel. And then underneath that, like an iceberg effect, you've got all these unconscious thoughts which are helping you to survive. Thinking about all of that consciously would be exhausting, would be very simple beings. So things like breathing, things like moving using your non-verbal communication, all these autonomous body movements that we do that we don't think about, these are all in the unconscious thinking that we do. So I hope that you're still with me on this. We have these conscious thoughts and we have these unconscious thoughts. Lots of information going through our minds. Now, if you really listen and start to learn and ask yourself, what questions are you thinking? What questions are you thinking? Because in a situation of overthinking, the one question that will multiply your stress, the one question that will multiply the feelings of anxiety or stress or exhaustion is the question of why. It's overcoming overthinking 101. Remove thoughts of why. In situations where you are starting to feel that sense of anxiety, that sense of overthinking kicking in, it's being able to recognize that that's happening on a conscious level, on that singular channel. Okay, it's happening now. And asking questions that are not why questions. The reason for that is because when you ask why, you are given many reasons to justify the question. For example, why can't I just stop thinking? Why can't I slow my mind down? Why am I so anxious? Why am I so nervous? Why am I getting so hot? What you're doing is you're just telling your brain the problem. You're just emphasizing the subject. If I say to you now, whatever you do as you're watching me or listening to me, just you can't think about a blue tree. Don't think about a blue tree. Whatever you think about anything, but don't think about a blue tree. You are most likely thinking or have thought about a blue tree because your mind only understands that subject. Why am I getting so hot? Why can't I slow my mind down? Why am I so stressed? Why am I so anxious? Why am I always so bad at this? Why do I always struggle with these things? Your mind is just feeling the subject and you will spiral out of control. It will get worse. The solution does not exist behind the word why. It only gets worse. So, and this is a very basic start and it needs practice. This is your internal dialogue that you have to practice and train. And it takes a lot of practice to do that. It takes a lot of time and focus. And the next time you feel like you're overthinking, instead of why, ask what. Ask yourself, what would make me feel more at ease? What would make me feel calm right now? What is the most helpful thought? What can I control right now? What do I understand in this situation? What is it about this that is making me feel this way? Those questions will bring solutions because your mind is literally your infinite resource and it's being asked a high quality question, albeit you are asking yourself, but inside of your mind, nobody else has access. It's just you. So having that internal dialogue move to a place of higher quality questions will help you to reduce overthinking, to become more clear, more focused, to become calmer in a situation by taking ownership of that single channel thought. That voice that you might know is going on now. The thoughts that you're having now, like, what is he talking about? Or what am I going to have for dinner? That is exactly the channel that we need to tune into. But we need to make sure that that channel is asking what instead of why. This is such a simple but vital way to tune your mind. It will change so much for you by substituting why with what. And you could even use words like how. How can I make this better? How can I improve this situation? How can I calm myself down? How can I take a breath? Right? These words will produce solutions. And If there was ever a time where we needed to take ownership of the questions that we're asking ourselves, it's now. Because every day we are triggered or potentially triggered to spiral out of control into a negative hole of thinking. There is so much fear out there at the moment, and fear is such a weak foundation to do anything from. Fear will always burn out. It will always exhaust itself. Doing something based on fear will only serve you for a very short period of time. And so taking control of how you think is going to be so important for your mental well-being. And it goes beyond that, really. It really goes beyond mental health. This is not necessarily all about mental health. This is about your whole self as an organism physically, because all your cells are connected, and feeling stressed in one area of your body will potentially make you stressed in other areas, and stress within your cells of your body will cause your body a dis-ease, right? But it's also about your soul. We are being radiated on with all the negativity and all the fear. And so breaking away from that in your mind will allow you to break away from it in your reality, because everything around you is understood because of what's going on inside you. Everything is a reflection of what's going on inside of you. You only understand this hat because of what you know about hats. Otherwise, it would be this object on top of my head that you'd never seen before. Sounds very, simple, but that's how it works. Everything around you is a reflection of what's going on inside. You understand what's out here based on what you understand in here. So you can take that and you can run with it, and you can go all different places with that. But tonight is all about that question. Instead of why, what? When you feel like you're overthinking, when you feel like it's kicking in, trust your self-awareness to recognize that single channel of conscious thought. Because although it seems like, or might feel like, you have 100 voices in your head, it's one single channel, maybe just on fast forward, maybe just going real fast and loud. When you know that that is your mind, you can control that, and you can interrupt that pattern, and you can stop yourself, and you can remember this moment, and you can remember to ask, what can I do to help myself in this situation? What is the positive action here? What is the most important thing to focus on? What is the most productive thing to focus on? And that will change everything. It will. I'm not saying it's going to happen straight away. I'm not saying it's going to be easy, but this is quite literally how. It's quite literally how. I know it to be true because I've done this myself. And I tell you one thing, it's a lot calmer in my mind now that since I've learned this many years ago and practiced it. And it served me in all kinds of situations of pressure. It served me in relationship pressure. It served me in, stressful times. Like, for example, it's a stressful time when your partner's giving birth. Like you don't know what that is and never seen that before. Well, the second time, but it's always going to be a heightened sense of anxiety when your partner is seemingly in pain. And you're worried. And you're thinking, is this right? Is this normal? And the things are beeping and everything, and it's all going on. And it's those moments where it served me, where I've been able to control my thinking. What is the single thought that I want to concentrate on right now that's going to help me? Rather than, why is that machine beeping? Why is she in pain? Why isn't the nurse here? Why is this happening? Like, bang, bang, bang. Overthinking, overload, anxiety, stress, reactive behavior, destructive behavior, problematic behavior. The list goes on. It's also served me in a sporting context, competing at world level in sport jiu-jitsu a few years back now. but being able to control and understand that that single channel is still going on in every moment, even when I'm literally getting punched in the face. I'm still able to recognize that single channel exists. You've just been punched in the face. What do you need to do differently? Not, why did I get punched in the face? Why did that hurt so bad? Why aren't I winning this fight? You see what I mean? So it's in those everyday singular thoughts where we can pay attention to the information that we are choosing to bring into our minds, get to know ourselves a little bit better, read books, free your mind from the distractions, from the narrative that can drag you into a fearful dark hole, and realize that everything on the outside is a reflection of what's on the inside. You will notice on the outside what you notice on the inside. So tune your mind into the things that you know will serve you and help you, and start by replacing why with what. So I do hope that this has helped with wherever you're at right now. Strange old world that we're living in, but I truly believe that in this time that we're all alive and that we're all here, that you're here not by chance, and I'm certainly not here by chance. Us sharing this moment is not by chance. It's to help serve you. It's to help serve whatever you do next. That is something that I truly believe is happening right now, because you've tuned into this. You could have been tuning into anything, but you're here, you're watching this, you're listening to this. So the challenge is there for you. Whatever you do next, do it the best you can and tune into that positive, open-minded channel that can help to serve you through the challenges and reduce your overthinking. Okay, thank you for listening. Thank you for being here. And I do hope you stay safe and stay positive, and this has helped you in some way. So I'm still here on the Facebook Live. By the way, that's sort of the end of the content, but I'd now like to welcome the chat back and forth. Like, what's resonated with you from that? What have you learned? What have you thought? What have you considered? I've got a few comments here. So Nikki, traffic jam of thoughts. Yeah, the traffic jam of thoughts is a good analogy, isn't it? Sarah, it's like a sensory overload and you need a reset button. Yeah, the reset button is quite literally to interrupt the pattern, to break the state, step back literally or metaphorically inside of your mind, take a breath and think, what is it that I need to think about? What is the most important thing? What is the most helpful thought right now? And it just separates the noise and allows that one thing to glow and to be very glaringly obvious that that's the thing that will help. We've got to trust ourselves, all right? We've got the answers. The answers are already there. It's the challenges that we face are meant to be challenging. It's meant to bring the best out of us. And it's up to us to drive that. We can go that way or we can go that way. One way is not going to be good. The other way will. And it's all about that. It's all about your head. Nikki, 95% of our behavior is thought to be unconscious. Yeah, it's, I mean, if you count all the internal mechanisms, biological, biomechanical, it's probably more than that, to be fair. Wherever you are right now, whether you're standing up or sitting down, like, notice what your left foot is doing right now. Did you choose consciously to put your left foot where it is now? For some of you, that's going to be yes. Maybe you're like painting your toenails, or maybe you're just putting on your shoes, in which case you would have chosen to put your left foot where it is now. But everyone else is just kind of sat down or walk, like just chilling out. No, there it is. It's part of your body. Maybe you didn't choose to put it there, literally there on the carpet, but it's there. If you didn't consciously choose to do that, then what made it do that? Likewise with your ring finger on your left hand right now. What's it doing? Was it conscious, or did it just happen unconsciously? So much is done unconsciously. So much. And that's why we've got to be able to understand and learn and be open-minded to how we can make sure everything is on the same wavelength and on the same level of what we would like to achieve and expect in our lives. Mandy, love it. Definitive answers. Yep, absolutely. And this is not just in your head, but this also works conversationally as well. You can try this one out. You can give this one a little test. If you were to ask somebody why they haven't done something, they will automatically get defensive. Most of the time, their reply, their response will be a defensive back foot reply or response. But when you ask a what question instead, or a how question, or a when question, very different, very, very, very different. Those of you that have got kids, particularly teenagers, you can do this one. Instead of saying, why haven't you done the dishes? Defensive reply, if anything, you might not get one, you might get a grunt. But instead, if you ask, when are you going to do the washing up? The brain reacts differently. You might, I'm not saying you will, because we're talking about teenagers now, but you might get a different response. Just might be a bit different, hopefully more productive. Anne-Marie, thank you for being here. Good to see you here. And Melanie, wow, this has hit a nerve. Yeah, it's time to take that then. If it's hit a nerve, it's time to take that, bring it in to your awareness, think about it tonight, think about it tomorrow, think about it the next day, practice it. It takes time. It's like anything. If you're just on the back foot and you're an observer in life and you're letting things happen to you, then you're always going to be a product of that, because we are all a product of our environment, right? So unless we're taking a forward march on life and we're thinking about how we want to live, what we want to say in our mind, how we want to deal with overthinking, and we think, right, okay, I'm not going to be just on the back foot here and take whatever's given to me. I'm going to step into this and I'm going to learn about it. In the same way that if you all of a sudden had to move to France and you didn't speak French, you would probably want to start learning French. You will want to do that because your environment would demand you to do that in order for you to survive at your highest level of life enjoyment and security. And it's the same with this. It's a skill that, should you feel like you're struggling with something, you can learn how to better cope with that, and not just cope, but succeed in making that something that you hold on to for the rest of your life and serves you for the rest of your life. And perhaps even by proxy, you radiate and teach others by leading by example in your everyday thoughts, in your everyday words and everyday actions. And those of you that have children, leading by example behind closed doors inside your own house every day and teaching them, your young children, how to be open-minded in this way, and that everything is not a fearful thing. Everything around you is not a problem. The problem is part of the journey, but it's not a problem. It's just a challenge ready. It's just a lesson waiting to be learned. I mean, it's fun when you think about it like that. Carlton, interesting mindset. Nikki, awareness is the key. And Gary, hello. Good to see you, Gary. How's it going, mate? We've been talking about overthinking tonight. Those of you that are still here and those of you that are still watching, if anyone has any questions, whatever questions you have for me around overthinking or anything that you've heard that's just maybe provoked another layer of question, do ask. Now is a good time to do that because you're in this with me now, and I'd love to see how I can help you with that. This all from me, obviously, being self-aware and learning about my own thinking, just like you, going through life and observing how things pan out and tracing back and assessing what happened and how it happened and looking at the movements and thoughts that you make, of course, just like you. But as well as that, in 2012, that's when my learning journey began with how the mind works, when I began to study NLP, when I began to study neuro-linguistic programming and started to learn about conscious and unconscious thinking, and then kept learning. The cool thing about it is sometimes what we try and do, or what we tend to do, is look to pigeonhole things and categorize things. Qualifications aren't what you need to learn this about yourself. It's books, It's books and it's podcasts and it's conversations with people that will keep your self-awareness at an elevated level. The more compressed your life is, the less you'll be able to learn about how you feel and how you think. This is by far done for you. You have work to do in whatever it is that you do, literally in your career, but also in your personal life. You've got work to do. You've got relationships to nourish. You've got wisdom to pass on to younger people and to your peers. This work is needed now, right? So step outside of yourself, step beyond that anxiety line and own it. Own it. Own it. Melanie, do you recommend any podcasts? I tend not to listen to many podcasts, but what I do is listen to audiobooks. So I had this conversation with my mum today, actually, and I helped her. Helping my mum with technology is something that I've been doing since I was 10, and it doesn't get any easier. She'll probably be laughing right now, but we got there in the end. And audiobooks I would thoroughly recommend, because what I find is with an audiobook, there's just a more organic and raw agenda to the reason why that was made. A book is a very intimate thing. It's start to finish. It's a purpose-led article. It's bound literally by its front and back cover. And a book, I think, will serve you in a different way to a podcast, where, like this now, podcast episode always has a specific categoric agenda and is less prepped, in my opinion. Like when I wrote my book and how that felt compared to just doing this episode with you, completely different. Because with a book, it's almost like the author will take that far more seriously than just a podcast episode. So I'd recommend doing both. Obviously, I don't have any podcasts that I'd recommend because I don't really listen to them. But audiobooks, I would certainly recommend you to do that. And here's what I would do, because I know that some of you will be thinking, okay, well, what audiobook would you recommend? I wouldn't want to recommend a single book to you, but instead I would encourage you to follow your nose and trust whatever took your fancy. But I would say go on and look at like the self-help category or the personal development category within the bookstore, the audiobook store on Audible or on iTunes, or even the spirituality section, because a lot of this really, if you want to move the line, start learning about that and start being interested in spirituality as a topic. And then I would just see what spoke to you. I know that sounds a bit woo-woo, but it's always served me well. That process has always served me well, of trusting whatever it is that you feel like is the right book to listen to or indeed read. You know, this has been my whole adult learning journey through personal development, from the moment when I got a backpack and I was going traveling and I had like 5 books to choose from. I thought, well, I better choose a book. I better just take a book with me. And I looked at all these books that I had that people had bought me and I bought on a whim, thinking I'll read that one day. Never read any of them. And I looked at this one book and I was like, it has to be that one. I didn't know why. I didn't even know what it was about. I didn't even know who gave it to me, but I was like, it has to be that one. And I took it with me and it really changed a lot for me. And it was called The Alchemist. And it's still one of my favorite books. I've read it 3 times. And this isn't saying that you should read that, but what I am saying, well, you should, it's a great book. But what I am saying is that trust your instinct as to what book you feel like you should read. They say you can't judge a book by its cover, but you kind of can when it comes to this instinct of that's the one. So get onto the audiobook store and choose one. Make sure the category makes sense. Okay, so what do you want to learn about? Go to that category and then just whatever one you think is the one, you know. I don't like recommended books too much. I think it needs to be a freedom move of just seeing whatever it is that you think is the one to read and seeing what it brings to your life. Melanie, you're very welcome. I hope that helps, and I look forward to hearing which book you choose, because I want you to touch base and let me know that this has happened. very important. Otherwise, these are just ideas that don't happen, and we don't follow through with them. So do let me know. And Colton, have you got your book as an audiobook? I haven't. I'll tell you why, because when I got the book published, the audiobook option was very viable, and then all of a sudden the rules had changed or something, and I was quoted £12,000. £12,000 to officially record my book as an audiobook. And I didn't want to do that. I just didn't think that it was necessary, because the plan that I have, and I will do it, and I've been thinking about it now for it's been on my mind recently, is actually doing it on my own. So rather than it being as an audiobook and recording the whole thing myself and making it available somewhere else on the internet rather than through conventional bookstores. And that is on the cards. So at the moment, you can't listen to my voice and reading back yourself, but you will be able to soon. So yes, that's going to happen soon. Lock myself in the booth and read that book to a microphone. That will be happening. Mother chipping in here. See, I love The Alchemist, another great book. Read back yourself. Yeah, thanks, Mum. #1 fan chipping in there, giving us a shout out there. The interesting thing is there was some special stuff going on. I think special energy going through me when I wrote that book in the end of 2018, and I always say that I don't really promote it or push it at all, really. I think it finds people at the right time, and people read it at the right time. And most people don't even read books. I'm looking at 6 books here on this shelf, and I've only read 2 of them. Most people don't actually read the books. They just buy them because it's a feeling that they want to get, but they don't do the time. It's like getting a gym membership and not using the gym. It sounds like a great idea, and all the arrows point in the right place. But unless you actually do the work, you don't get the result. And so you can be a self-development student, or you can be a shelf development student. I'm as bad as the next person for not actually reading them. But I know that everyone that reads this from cover to cover, there's something in there that resonates at the right time. So it happens at the right time. It's one of those. I do like this book. Obviously, I'm proud of it. Is it one of the world's best personal development books? No, it's not. But it's 100-odd pages of pure, raw information and heartfelt experiences that I've been through that may help you. It's interesting. Like I said, there was some special shit flowing through me when I wrote this, and sometimes I actually go back and read some of it myself to just connect back to that. If that makes sense. Sounds a bit woo-woo again. It's been a bit of a woo-woo call, isn't it? But life's too short. Life's too precious. Even life's too precious, and it's definitely an element of that to what I do and what I believe in. So I'm done with hiding it, to be fair. And that's why one of those, what I've said there about the book, there's a chapter in the book that's called Miracles, the secret ingredient or the special ingredient. And it's very woo-woo, but it's probably the most meaningful chapter in the whole book. I'm not going to hold back on stuff like that. You guys have taught me that, by the way, over the last few weeks with the bunker talk sessions. You've helped me to grow into that and that mindset. So I guess I'm saying thank you for that. And hopefully by helping me do that and me being able to share more readily without any sort of fear of judgment or expectation will help more people. We're all on a journey. So we can travel some of this together and help each other. All right. I'll hang out for another minute or so. If anyone has any other questions, then do ask. I'm here and I'm rolling with you. So anything that you think I can help with or recommend, I'd love to be able to help. As I conclude this, I think just for my own record, I think we stopped the sort of podcast element at about 30 minutes, I think. Just making a note of that so that it's like content's easy to edit. Is anybody reading a book at the moment? If you are, then do let me know. Let everybody know what it is that you're reading. Tell you a little secret, right? This is a little official exclusive, although it's been said. I don't even know where I've said it. I've said it a couple of times. I think, on interviews that I've been a guest on, so I doubt you guys have heard it. But as you're here with me 45 minutes deep into this, I have started writing my next book, and I've been very inspired to do so due to everything that's been going on, and it's going to be a slightly different book along the theme of what we've been discussing, that real important side of life that's very important right now, to dig deep and find that inner strength, because it's very much needed now, and it's a very personal journey for all of us. We shouldn't be shying away from challenges. We should be leaning into them and finding the courage to do so. So I'm looking forward to that. That's a little world exclusive for you. I don't know when it'll be done. I mean, these things happen at the rate they should, I think. Anybody in here had experience writing? Any writers in here? Anybody published? Let me know. All right, catching up. So, Bex, how to stay focused when you're bombarded with stuff. So we've looked at the questioning, the conscious mind, asking yourself what instead of why. What I would do is I'd recommend to break apart the stuff, and it might help to literally write it down. So when you feel like thinking about that as an analogy, being bombarded with stuff, if you were being physically bombarded with stuff, you would want to move, wouldn't you? You'd want to move out the way. You'd want to get away from being bombarded, but you'd still need to know what was going on, what was being thrown at you, and the reasons for that. So I would split everything apart and I'd write everything down, everything that you feel was being thrown at you, and then apply some very high quality questions to those things, like, how important is that really? How can I make that easier? Who could possibly help me with that thing? And start to break them down one by one, because there might be stuff that you're worrying about, or that you're thinking about, or that's being thrown at you that isn't as important as you might think, and that could be left alone, at least for a little bit, if not forever. You hear about letting go of things. Sometimes what we need is not to do more stuff, but to actually make some space in our lives so that the other things that we're doing have more room to be able to do what they should do, be able to grow, to be able to flourish. So there are lots of different things that you can do and read to help this. Things around time management, productivity, but ultimately someone who is getting bombarded suggests that it's external stuff that's doing that. So understanding, like we said earlier, that everything on the outside is a reflection of the inside. How can you make your thoughts easier so that you aren't as stressed or as bombarded? I hope that helps and makes sense. Carlton, 22 Floors at the minute. That's what you're reading. Joe, I read a lot, but mainly fiction. Always plan to write a book, but not been the right time yet. Yeah, somebody asked me as well. Ryan, a good friend of mine, Ryan Hartley, some of you might follow as well. He asked me about the writing process. So those of you that are interested, and they say that there's a book in us, like everyone has a book in them. Here's how I do it. How I've done it. I've only I actually published 3 books, but 1 properly, I think. Get the 60% of the body of the book together, and obviously if you're writing a story, that's different, because maybe scene by scene or chapter by chapter you could do this, but with something like a how-to book, or indeed a self-help book like I write, is take the 60% of the body as soon as that's there, and some of it might be in my notes on my phone, some of it might be on my laptop, some of it might be written down with in a book, a notepad, and I just collate all of it so that it's in one centralized place, and I can see the 60% of what it is, right? And I know it's 60% because there's bits, the introduction's missing, the setting the scene of the book is missing, the about the author is missing, the concluding chapters, but the body of it will be there, which I'll then look at and I'll think to myself, have I got something here? Or what have I got here? And how good do I think this is going to be? How much do I think this is going to help? Because I've got to this stage before over various topics in the past, and I've gone, I don't think that's going to be good, or I don't think this is going to be useful. This is a different experience. It's more like a personal experience. So I put it all in 60%, and then I get like my like with Back Yourself, it was like, right, how am I going to break this up? So the first part was the story, which I think lasted about 26 pages. And then that brought context to why, or, you know, what it is about me that allows me to kind of talk like this. I share about what I've been through and how it kind of happened. And then I go into some more generic advice. And then I go into the short stories, and the back end of the book is about those miracles and the special things that happen that we can't explain. And that's how it mapped for me. But it all starts with getting 60% in, and then seeing what are the gaps and how can I fill those gaps? What can I fill them with? Also, always get an editor. Like my editor that I used, Kirsten, she was amazing, because I cut so much out of my book, because she basically said, look, as much as this is great, no one really cares. And I was like, oh my God, that's such harsh advice. But it was so amazing for her to say that, because it's true. The reader, like you and I, when we read a book, we're reading a book with our own time, with information going to our brain. And it's a very selfish thing. It's like, well, I'm reading this book because I'm spending my time. I'm not reading this for the sake of it. This isn't like this isn't a lesson. This is actual leisure reading. Right? I want to learn something in my own time. It's not my job to do this. This is a choice move. So it has to be about the reader. It has to benefit us as readers. And the original cut was too much of like, I did this and I said that to this person, and then this happened, then I ate that for lunch. She was like, people don't care about that. And it's very true. So an editor is a must-have for the writing experience. I would thoroughly recommend that. Well, we've moved on to this interesting area of conversation. I'm hopeful that it's interesting for you. Bex, really great, and would make sense of things. Thank you so much, talking about bombarding, and it's so amazing that you're sharing all this. Well, I would share as much as anybody wants to know. And I'm hence the excuse the pun, but I am very much an open book. You can ask me anything, and I'm not going to beat around the bush, and I'll just tell you. If I don't know, then I'll tell you I don't know as well. You know, simple. And I have, as I said previously, my life has moved and changed, and I have zero expectation whatsoever with this video, with speaking to you now, with the podcast, because I do it because I feel like it's the right thing for me to do, and that it connects. And if it does, wonderful. There's no other reason for me to do it other than just because it feels like it's within me to do that. JG, the big JG. I love a bookcase full of self-learning, healing. I have many that I've read and still refer to whenever I need. The Awakening and Law of Attraction are good reads. Yep, and hopefully with your new audiobook capacity, you'll be able to take another book on and keep that learning going. And Bex, thank you for being here. I have read that one already. Rightio, right, we're up to 53 and a half minutes. I'm going to bow out and thank you for being here with me this evening. We'll be back again next Tuesday, and we'll be talking about a new subject, a new topic. In the meantime, those of you that aren't following me on Instagram, do come across and follow me on Instagram. And the reason, because I think there always needs to be a reason, not just for the sake of self-promotion. The reason is, if you like this chat and you're here now listening, then you should get over to Instagram, because I ask on Instagram, I ask questions to the audience, because my followers, because it's just so much easier. The functionality is so much easier. Like, what do you struggle with the most? What would you like some help with? What are your questions around overthinking and stuff like that? And then I use all of that to compile what it is that I'm going to present to you guys. So if you'd like to get involved in that process, then I'm at Tommy Gentleman, all one word, on Instagram. When you do that, and when you follow me, send me a message and tell me that you've done so as a result of being here on Facebook, because I think that'd be really cool. And I'll look forward to chatting to you some more in the near future. Stay safe, stay positive, and I'll speak to you soon. See you later.